Okay, and we are live. Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land, and welcome to another episode of the Teacup for One Oz Movie Marathon live show. Oh, yeah, we've already got someone in the chat. It is party time. Thank you, Mary. Oh, I was just on Instagram Live telling everyone who was watching to come watch this, and Mary was like one of the 3 people on Instagram Live, so she followed through, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you. So, welcome to another Teacup for One live show. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. And if this is your first time ever tuning into one of these Teacup for One live discussions, how they work is essentially every week for the past couple of months, actually, we've been discussing a different movie. It started out with a marathon inspired by the Great Movie Ride, the now defunct attraction from Walt Disney's MGM Studios, aka Disney's Hollywood Studios, aka Star Wars Land. And then once we ran out of those movies, I realized everyone loves The Wizard of Oz, so why not do an entire month dedicated to Oz films, which is what this past month has been. August has been all about Oz. So we started out nice and weak with Muppet Wizard of Oz, which was a waste of everyone's time and energy, but it was very fun talking about that movie. And then we did Oz the Great and Powerful. Then after that, we followed it up with Return to Oz. And this week, for the grand finale of the Oz movie marathon, we are discussing The Wiz. So this is the movie from the 1970s starring Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, and it's based on the Broadway musical of the same name. The music is incredible. The star power is unparalleled. And it's one of those movies that I find super interesting because some people love it, some people hate it, and some people just don't really know what to make of it in general. And that's kind of my favorite type of movie. So I'm really excited to discuss it tonight with our special guests. And I'm going to introduce them to you right now. Let's see who's going to be first. They don't know. They don't know. Here we are. We're going to start with Lord. Hi, Lord.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I feel
Welcome
like a
back
seasoned
again.
pro.
You absolutely are. I think someone last week said it perfectly. You're basically the co-host of these live shows. So welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So you know the drill by now. Just let us know a little bit about you, about your channel, and who you are.
Yeah, well, we are Castles, Capes, and Clones on YouTube,
Mhm.
and we discuss pretty much everything in the Disney universe. We do unboxings and hauls and pins, lots of pin things, Disney news, Disney reviews. We have a live show that we do on Thursdays. At 6:30 p.m. Pacific, and yeah, so we've just got all of that happening all at once. I feel like it's Vlogmas because I feel like I've been vlogging like every day, and it's crazy.
Have you been officially putting out videos every day? Because that's what it seems like, and
It,
I love it. Every
you
day I
know,
log in, I'm like, it's a new Lauren video.
I know it feels like it if it hasn't, if it isn't the case.
Oh, brilliant. Well, the people want more. The
Yeah.
people want, just like us with Schmigadoon, we want more. Oh, we should do a Schmigadoon live stream. That
Oh,
would, well, maybe later. Once people start to forget about Schmigadoon, then we'll just bring it back with a live show.
I would love to do that.
Yes. Okay, and we're going to bring in our next guest for this evening. You know her, you remember her, you love her. It is Jeanette, aka Tinker J from Instagram's TinkerJ787. Hi, Jeanette.
Hello.
Yay!
Thank you for coming back to join us this evening. So, same thing. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your life and your Instagram.
I am Jeanette Tinker J787. And so my our Instagram is just me and my family. We're Disney annual pass holders. We go to Disney a lot. I do some Disney baking, and there's a lot of that on there. We did just return from a trip, so there's a lot of fresh stuff there. I experimented with IG Live for the first time. That was fun. So you
That
can
was
see
so much
me
fun.
raw and unedited there. For Oz month, I while I did not finish it, I've been working on a project all month long. In the course of trying to finish it, of course, we got a new cat, so that took up a little bit of time. But so this is I do felting too, which is on my Instagram. It's not something that I talk about a lot. I just don't think to bring it up. But I haven't posted it yet. But this is my it's the first person.
Ooh,
Okay, so it's just her bust right now. It's the first like non-animated thing I've done. I've done Figment, I've done Alice, I've done many cartoony things. I've never done a real person, so be forgiving. But so her hands are obviously not here. This is just her bust at this point, but I'm
She
gonna try to
looks
get in.
so
She needs
good.
more she needs more eyelids, and she needs a
That's
cape, but
fantastic.
yeah, so that's what I'm working on. Yeah, very crafty. She needs a lot more
Witchcrafty.
detail. I spent a lot of time on her like face sculpt trying to like make the nose right. So yeah, that's where that goes. But I am gonna finish it eventually. But this inspired me this month. So that's been my little contribution.
Beautiful. And she's a
Oh,
fan
man.
favorite amongst the viewers here.
Oh,
Fun.
hey Miriam.
Look, Miriam's here, aka the Churro Fund. Yeah, so Miriam joined us last week. Oh, thanks for joining us again this week, Miriam. Well, like
Yeah.
Miriam was on screen last week, but she's joining us again as a supporter. So we love Miriam.
Yes, we do.
Fantastic. Now, I think we're still waiting on Ajanaclair from being Ajanaclair to come join us. I'm not sure what her ETA is, but in the meantime, let's just kind of get the ball rolling talking about The Wiz. So, was this anyone's first time watching the movie?
I'm gonna say yes, just because I saw it like it had to be PBS or like some very early morning broadcast somewhere when I was like 5. So I'm gonna say yeah, because I just had like fever dreams of it. I didn't really remember it, and then I watched it. I was like, it is a fever dream, but it's okay.
Oh, well, if you remembered it as a fever dream, you're remembering it correctly, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And Lauren, you had seen it before as well?
Yes, many times.
Wonderful. So let's start with Jeanette. Jeanette, tell us, since you kind of had the freshest revisitation of the movie, what were like your first impressions watching it, kind of as a first-time viewer?
It was campy was my favorite description because that's not a negative thing coming from me. Like I think campy is good in the right context, obviously, and this was the right context. If you can't be campy with Wizard of Oz, what can you be campy with?
Right.
And it felt very heartfelt. That was a thing I got from it. I think as an interpretation of Wizard of Oz, I felt like it was almost a little sad. It felt kind of
Oh,
sad at points, but
so bleak.
yeah, there you go. Bleak is a better description than sad. And but it was fun to watch. There were some duller moments than others, but overall I enjoyed it. Is it something I'll throw on as often? Like for some reason I kept drawing comparisons to Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know if it's the time and history or
Right.
maybe just kind of like the lower budget feeling, even though it couldn't have been. They had Diana Ross. That's
Oh,
not low
apparently it was
budget,
like the
but
highest budget movie musical ever made at the time.
right. But it feels very low budget. So I was like, I don't know why I kept drawing that comparison, but I'm like, I don't know that I'll throw this on as often as like that. But like, yeah, it's good.
Cool. And Lauren, how about you? Tell us about your history with The Wiz.
Well, let's see. I remember watching it back when it came out.
Like when it was first in theaters?
Yeah, when it first was in theaters, back in '78. I
Oh
would
my
have been
gosh, that's amazing.
9 years old, and yeah, because I loved all things Wizard of Oz, and I remember loving it back then, and I then there was a time in my life where I thought that was a stupid movie. Like I don't know where I got it from, but I just in my head, like sometimes you just kind of start thinking that's dumb or whatever, and that's the way I felt about it. And then I sat down and watched it again not too long ago, and well, no, several years ago actually, and I really enjoyed it, and I watched it quite a bit over and over again. And then the live show came out and loved that. And I love the music is what makes it for me. The music more than everything. It's the music.
No, absolutely. I fully agree. I kind of had the same experience. I guess kind of the same experience as Jeanette. It was like one of the movies that I watched growing up that I just acquired on VHS because I loved Wizard of Oz adaptations. Oh, what we got here? Mary says, "You're so cool, Lauren. I wish there was a movie time machine where you could go watch the first one." I agree.
Yes,
I
agree. Full. There's so
thoroughly
many on
wish.
my list.
Oh my gosh, no, I absolutely wish I could go back and like see this movie in theaters for the first time. That would just be incredible. But no, like I Okay, myself and Martha kind of remember this differently, Martha being my mom. But I have a distinct memory of me being at dinner with my parents, with my mom and dad, and then they were just casually talking about how there was another Wizard of Oz movie with Michael Jackson. And then I was probably like 7 or 8. I was like, I want to see it. Like, I want to see this right now. And then we went to the mall that was across the street from the restaurant after dinner, and it like we just had it in the movie store on VHS, which in and of itself, now looking back, was a very magical thing that it was just there when I wanted it. And yeah, by that point, I'd seen enough Wizard of Oz adaptations to kind of know that it wasn't going to be the MGM movie, and it wasn't, and I wasn't expecting it to be. But just for what it was just so weird, and I loved it. And like just something about the music I found really exciting. The visuals were equally exciting. It was just fantastic. And then I didn't really revisit it at all as an adult until this. Like I watched The Wiz live a couple years ago, and that was okay. Like I think the cast was top notch. The pacing, because I rewatched it these past few days just so I could like reverse myself. But like the pacing had that kind of awkwardness that comes with all the live TV musicals where there's just long awkward pauses. And yeah, but like the music I think is always going to be the heart and the soul and the brains and the courage of this show. All right. Oh, and we're going to bring in our final guest for this evening, everyone. Please welcome Ajanaclair of Being Ajanaclair. Hello, friend.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome. All right. Ooh, show us your ears. Are those Wiz-themed ears? No, they can't be. Are they?
No, these are actually Cruella ears.
1970s, it works. There it is.
I didn't have anything with themed, so I thought I'd go villain themed.
Nice. Oh, okay, they're villains.
Nice.
I was like, that's an all-over print shirt. I'm trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
these are villains.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
Colleen and her sister.
Brilliant. Okay, so Jeanne-Claire, tell us a little bit about you and about your channel.
So my channel is a little hodgepodge of everything. I do cocktails and Disney. I know that sounds like redundant, right? So I do cocktails and Disney. I do Loungefly. I do vlogs. I do a little bit of everything.
Nice.
I'm drinking a cocktail now. This is how mommies drink cocktails. You drink them out of coffee mugs so nobody knows.
That's not limited to mommies. There we go. I think one of my very first episodes, I said, I'm going to be talking about whatever I want to while drinking beverages that may or may not be tea. That's, I think, like was my first official
Everyone
Teacup
has
For One
to
episode.
guess. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, mine ended up in this cup because I had it in like a wine glass, but the glass wasn't tall enough for me to add milk because this is a rum chata salted caramel and Godiva chocolate mix.
Oh,
And then I wanted to add
gosh.
some almond milk so it would be a little not so much alcohol. So I would have passed out in the middle of the show.
there you go. You should put some gold flake on
And then I
top
wanted to put
for
some whipped cream on the top, so I had to put it in the giant teacup.
oh, there you go. Should do a
Sister,
little
I think
yellow
it was
brick
the-
road on top.
Yes. I think it was the
I
Alien
will
live
be on the
stream.
yellow brick road.
So the Alien live stream when you had the full drink at the beginning, and then just at some point, like an hour and a half later, I think it was Mike just said, Jeanne-Claire, how much of your drink is left? And you're just like, it's empty. I was like,
I think it
I
was
didn't even see her
Fantasia.
drinking this. It's a skill.
I think it was, and then I had to like go back and get like a refill.
Yeah. Well, if you need to get a refill tonight, absolutely. So we were just discussing actually any history that we have with the movie. So the question I posed to you that I posed to Lauren and Jeanette, was this your first time watching The Wiz? And if not, what do you remember about the first time you did watch it? And how has it evolved for you as an adult?
This was not my first time watching it, but it was my first time watching it in a few years. I grew up with The Wiz. Like, that was our Wizard of Oz in my household. And I absolutely adored Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and Nipsey Russell and like that whole cast. But that movie as a child terrified me. Like the scarecrows in the beginning with this, I mean, the crows with the scarecrow were scary. The little people, the munchkins coming off the wall. Like that movie was terrifying as a child.
Those guys were legit terrifying. That was a part of it. I was like, what in the world? If the whole thing is like this, I'm in love, and I liked it, but like I could have taken more of that. That would have been great.
Like, but as a child, like you don't really get it, and you just see like, and it's dark. Like I didn't realize how dark that movie was. Like it was like it was either dark and like just scary, or it was you felt like you were like in a smoke cloud getting high with all of the colors. It was like the whole movie was red at places.
Yeah. I made the comment, the lighting in this, I was like, I don't know if it's intentional or not intentional, but I feel like I need to turn the brightness up on my screen by like 50% at least, because it is literally dark and it's dark. It's dark and it's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of movies at that time were just dark.
Yeah.
And it could be just the times, because you know technology has just come so far. But I don't know. But aside from like those elements, I've always loved the movie. I've loved the singing, except for like the really slow songs, like the really really slow songs. I was like, oh my god.
No, I think
even today, like I had to
resist
temptation to fast forward past the slow songs.
Oh my God,
like
yes,
that's the thing, is that there's such a discrepancy with the music in the movie versus the music as it was in the stage show, and like what people I think were expecting from the movie. Because some of the songs in the movie I think have the same energy and the same vibe that they had on stage, but then others, like the one that comes to mind is When I Get Back Home, the one that she sings after all the munchkins and the North Witch disappear, and it's just that really bleak number where she's just walking by herself, and it's so slow and depressing, and she's basically crying.
Yes.
And then the first time I listened to it in the musical, like that's a pretty upbeat song. It's like this bouncy waltz where she's like, when I get back home, it's so like it's almost a toe tapper. And I think that's what this movie did. It really pulled down the energy of some of the songs for reasons that I kind of understand now artistically, but as a viewer, I'm like, I want to fast forward through this because it's not much musically, and it's really depressing me. So there it is.
And it doesn't really add anything to the movie. Like, I mean, I feel like if I haven't sat through some of the slower songs, I feel like I could have fast forwarded and not missed anything. But you know, when you're watching it and you're trying to make sure you don't miss anything, you watch it. But I'm like, when you can cut a whole selection out of a movie and it loses nothing, you don't really need it.
Yeah, that's called editing, right? I also felt like those songs, the slower songs, and maybe like I said, the whole thing felt sad, and you said bleak. Like all of it was just very kind of like this kind of like you said, Ajana, there were fog machines, and then there was also just like it felt kind of like the hazy version, the darker version of it. And I felt like those songs also felt very of their time. So looking at it now, especially with fresher eyes, it's kind of like those songs sound very like those either I don't it's not easy listening, but I can't think of a better description. Just very like late 70s, slow, not chanty, not anthem-y, very just talky, like singing song, you know, and they all sound sad. They all sound, you know, like I felt like she sounded like she was crying almost the whole movie. And I was like, sometimes she's not crying. Like, I don't want to feel like she's always crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and again, I think it's just, it all comes down to, well, I discussed this in my video. I think it all comes down to the reinterpreted Dorothy for this movie, because when I listened to, it was really recently actually, I was listening to the Wiz Live soundtrack either while I was driving or while I was doing work, and every time a Dorothy song came on, it was like I was hearing it for the first time, because I was hearing it how it was originally written and how it was intended to be sung, which is like with just a full belt and so much joy and so much life, because of course in the show she's supposed to be 16 or whatever, and she's supposed to have the optimism. But I think that's one of the big things, was that with this movie, just in making her an adult, they kind of had to kill the optimism for it to work dramatically. But then I kind of, there's so much I want to discuss about this movie. But first off, is anyone familiar with the stage version of The Wiz?
I only know Stephanie Mills singing "Home." That's it. Like I didn't even realize that she was in the stage version.
Oh yeah, that like built her career. That was the Stephanie Mills maker, was Home and The Wiz. And like the
Is there
vibe
a
that
version of that, like where you can watch it? Like, is there like a version
there is
somewhere?
a bootleg here on YouTube, of all places, that I sent to Jeanette earlier today, of not the original production, but the revival from '84, which still has Stephanie Mills in it. And I think the staging is pretty close to the original, so like that's the closest we're probably going to get for a while. I have heard rumors that they did a professional recording of the original back in the '70s, but they haven't released it. So yeah, but like it exists. And then The Wiz Live, it's not the original, but it gives you an idea kind of what it's supposed to be like when it's on stage. And it's so different. And the impression that I've gotten, especially because today I kind of half watched my way through the bootleg of the Broadway revival, is that on stage, like, it's just about the music. Music is the thing that's driving The Wiz. And I think the reason that it was so successful is because just hearing the music performed in person just had a power. That's kind of the vibe that I've gotten, that really can't be replicated on film. And like the best thing that I can think of is, I've really only had one theater going experience in my life where there's been a singer who's just like literally shaken the walls and made everyone give like a mid-show standing ovation. And of all productions, it was the really old and tired revival of Chicago on Broadway, like the one that just recycles actors like they're old tin cans and just brings people in because it's been running for so long. And it was a couple years ago, I was doing an acting program in New York. So I was there for a while, like about a month and a half. So Chicago was the first show I saw, my first night there, and I was underwhelmed and it was boring. And then I went back with some people like 2 or 3 weeks later, because it was the only thing that was playing, because it was a Monday night. And then they swapped out the woman who was playing Mama Morton. And then once it got to When You're Good to Mama, like whoever this particular actor was, her voice was just like so incredible, to the point where I felt my body reverberating. And I was like, I've never heard a voice like this before in my life. And like, she just had the audience in the palm of her hand, and just like, she was adding all these beautiful like riffs and improvising. And it was transcendent how good this person was, which was so unexpected, because I'd seen Chicago like 2 weeks earlier and it was boring. And so the thing that like I got while watching the bootleg is that The Wiz, the original production, was just like 2 hours of that. Every single song just had a voice that was able to have that impact and have that connection with people in the house. And I think that's why the original production was so good, because it was like, it connected with people in that way, in a way that only really live theater can. And so that's, I think, one of the reasons that the movie doesn't have the same power with the music. Anyway, that's my long-winded description and my theory for why the music.
I watched the version that you sent me, and I got to about where you meet the Witch of the West. And I feel like it flows better, for sure. To Ajanaclair's point, there is less of that in-between oddness, like weird slow stuff. They just roll. They roll through it, and it sounds a lot better that way. And I also feel like everyone in the Broadway production of it just sounded more upbeat. Everything sounds so much more upbeat than the movie. With the exception of the really dark, weird, when you meet the Witch of the North, right? The first witch you meet. Yeah. And I feel like that scene, the song there is like perfect. That thing gets you into it. And then when she goes right into that really slow song, I'm like, man, you had me built up. That song was very exciting. And then the Witch of the West, her song, again, it's like really amped up, really fun, really jaunty. I like the Lubricate My Mind song. That's a good one. But like all of those on Broadway, they just flow together and they sound so much more upbeat than any of them do in the movie.
Although I actually prefer Lena Horne. I love Lena Horne in this
She's
movie.
Oh, of
amazing.
And she's like all, ooh.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
it
mean, I
just
don't have any issue with the singing generally. I mean, I am like probably the biggest Diana Ross stan that, like, I don't get starstruck over anybody. I think I would literally fall down and melt into myself if I like got a chance to like be more than 3 feet away from Diana Ross.
Mhm.
And I have always been a fan for her. But I'm wondering if the role, because I watched your video, Matt, on the two roles and the two women in the two roles. And I'm just wondering if they kind of adapted, because they had to adapt the role to account for Diana Ross's age, if they also adapted the songs to account for her range.
Ooh, interesting.
Because Stephanie Mills has a very different range than Diana Ross. And if you like, Diana Ross has some like upbeat songs, but she doesn't belt them out.
No. I was
So I
actually
haven't
impressed with her
heard
belting in this
the
movie.
soundtrack,
Mhm.
but she, like, you know, this is like what six years after she did Lady Sings the Blues. Like, she was a bluesy singer. She's a very slow singer, and that's where her range, that's where her drive lived at that time.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that's why the tempo had slowed down so much, so that she could be a star in her range. Because I think if she had to sing out of her range, I don't know that it would have been as effective.
Oh,
And we would have been
definitely not.
we would have been talking about her like she was Ashanti.
At least this movie is good.
Yes. Well, no, it's kind of. I
There
think it's the
were,
same thing with. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say there were like just a couple of parts that reminded me of specifically the Muppets one, and it was the nightclub scene, the poppy scene. I was like,
Yes,
oh
yes.
man, they did that. They went there. Yeah.
They had to have gotten it from there.
My favorite costumes of the whole Wiz movie. I was obsessed with that scene. It reminded me of like in Beetlejuice when he turns around and there's like
Yes.
the house right there. All the same vibes. I was like, yeah, oh, I love it. It made me so happy.
Oh, agreed. Except I don't know. I'd rather go to this Poppy Club than the Muppet Pop. Actually, I don't know. If I had Muppets singing to me, it's hard to say because that was one of the only parts of the Muppet one that I did like.
Yeah, it wasn't the Electric
Yeah.
Mayhem. No, it wasn't the Electric Mayhem playing there. It was somebody else.
Yeah,
Anyway, we
no,
don't
it
need to give
wasn't.
that movie
No,
any
it's
more
true.
time.
It's true. No, we don't. We don't. So we've kind of bled into this, but let's just do a quick go around. What is everyone's specific favorite part or favorite thing about the movie? Not necessarily an actor, because we'll get to that as well, but like, what's your favorite scene, moment, or choice directorially in this film?
I'll start.
Mine
Oh,
is
go ahead,
Glenn.
start, Lauren.
Time that they were singing "You Going Down the Road," I was here for it. When
Yeah.
she got Michael Jackson down off of the pole, then they found the yellow brick road and they were singing. I was like, that for me was the first time like I felt like the movie came alive for me.
Yes, definitely. And even just the burst of color, like seeing a yellow that's that vibrant, like, because everything so far has been so muted and dark, and like it's just a lot of blues and blacks and grays. Then just seeing like one yellow brick and then having it grow into like the entire whatever that is, like the suspension bridge. Ooh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I have some issues with how that was shot, because after a while, just like the tall shot of them dancing got old. I was like, move in closer. I want to see them dancing, like close up. And that's kind of one of my issues with this movie, which I'll get into later. But I feel like it should have been directed, like I said in the video, by someone who knew how to make a musical, because I think it's in some sequences very evident that it was choreographed, and then he just like pointed the camera and said, "Shoot it." Like the crow scene, for example. But then you get to other parts like Brand New Day, which I think is everything about that sequence is brilliant, and like that's what I wanted the whole movie to be. But getting ahead of myself, yes. So Ajanaclair likes He's on Down the Road, as do we all, because it's brilliant. Who's next?
I like Glinda. Her song is just so good, and I love the fact that they at the beginning, during the Twister or whatever it is, you see her, she sends Dorothy to Oz. So it makes a lot more sense that at the end of the movie, she's just like, all you have to do is tap your heels 3 times and believe in yourself. And I thought that was much stronger than any other Glindas that I've seen in movies or whatnot. But Lena Horne is just, I mean, she's a legend. And the way she sings that song is so palpable to me.
Mhm.
I get goosebumps every time I hear it.
Yeah, but even just the visual of her in that is amazing. Like there's
Yeah.
something so eerily beautiful about how she's just kind of in her own floaty space with her little babies
Star
behind
Baby.
her, star babies, and yeah, it's perfect. Lena Horne is amazing. I just
Wasn't
think
she
it's
from the mural at the beginning?
what was she?
Because
Is
do
she
you
in
guys
it?
remember the
Probably.
mural at the
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah.
with the woman and the babies
Right.
around her? The
Yeah.
blue
Yes.
Oh
one
yeah.
with the blue babies,
Yep.
blue
Mhm.
children.
I was gonna say we
Yes.
can't get away without talking about floating space babies. These things were like that's one of my favorite parts is like the pre-Ann Geddes era Ann Geddes babies. Like those were pretty awesome.
Is that your
My,
pick for your
So
favorite
was
part?
Oz Brooklyn?
what's that?
I said, was Oz Brooklyn?
Oz, I
Isn't
think-
it
Because they
like
come
all
across
parts
the
of New
Brooklyn
York?
Bridge into what looks like Manhattan.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
like the
Yeah.
whole geography of because I went into it assuming that all of Oz was going to be geographically comparable to New York, but then they get back to Coney Island, which I think is like super South Brooklyn, if memory serves correctly. But then if they're going into Manhattan, I'm like, okay, I think I just need to accept that it's a hodgepodge
Yeah.
of all the different neighborhoods of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it feels like Munchkin Land is in Brooklyn, and then they have to cross the bridge into Manhattan, which is where Emerald City is.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, that
The
must have
base
to
of
be
Manhattan,
Manhattan.
which is south of 125th Street.
Right. Oh yeah, it's like I said in the group chat. That was the part of the film that I found hardest to swallow when it's like you've never been south of 125th Street, and I was like, really? But you have the best subway
I don't
system
find
in the
that
world.
that hard to believe.
No?
Have you
Oh,
ever lived
you
in
said
New
you
York?
lived like
So
a month.
I lived in New York, and
Mhm.
I lived in Harlem, and I worked in Midtown. I can't tell you the number of times that I went past Midtown. Like even living in Manhattan on the West Side, when I lived on the Upper West Side, on this like the West Side of Central Park, I never went to the East Side. Like,
Wow.
and that's just right across the park. Like you
True.
literally stay in like your little neighborhood. So
Yeah.
for a sheltered 24-year-old from
True.
Harlem, it is actually not it's not beyond the realm of reason that she'd never been south of 125th Street.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think my thinking was, well, Broadway, but that's just me thinking of myself as Matt. And also, Broadway in the 70s was very different than it is now. But then also, I was just like, but Central Park. Have you not been to Central Park? But no, I think that makes
No,
sense.
you'd be surprised. I live in Charleston. You'd be surprised at how many people who grew up in Charleston have never been to the beach.
Really?
Wow.
Fun. Yeah, I think like that's just, I don't know, everything about New York I love so much. And so the whole New York element of this just makes me really happy. So then, I don't know, just when she said you haven't been south of 125th Street, instantly my brain went, but New York is such a beautiful city. Why wouldn't you? And then actually my thought process there was, are they trying to say then that in the world of the Wiz, everything below 125th Street in her mind is Oz? Like, are we seeing what she thinks she hasn't been experiencing? Because she has that line when she says something like, I don't see how going south of 125th Street ever made anybody's life any better. And that was kind of an element that I thought was really exciting for me, where it's almost like this kooky magical world exists in her own backyard. She just hasn't like ventured out to see it. Oh no, where does Ajanaclair go?
It's like I've had enough of this. Probably.
Fun. Oh no.
Well,
Oh, sure, she'll come back. Okay, but where were we? Oh yeah, so Jeanette, were the flying space babies your favorite part?
Not my absolute favorite part. I would say that, like I said, the poppy scene was one of my favorites. And then trying to think, the thing is, like, looking back, I'm like, oh, there are a lot of really good parts. Oh, I don't know if it was my favorite. Maybe it was because it was so weird. The oddly strange, like pseudo erotic, like scene at the end after the evil witch dies, of
Oh
all of them
yes.
like breaking out of their things and like doing this very, what I would have considered an early 80s interpretive dance. That made me stop. I was like, why is this happening? But I'm so glad it's happening. But why is it happening? So yeah, that stuck in my brain. I was like, what is this? It's very strange.
That's, I think, one of my favorite parts of the movie. That's, yeah, Brand New Day. Like, it just, the music is so good. The
It
dance
is.
sequence is so good. And like I said, I think that's one of the only dance sequences in the film that felt like a musical to me, or felt like it was being directed and staged by a director who knew how to make a musical. But also, I love the Emerald City sequence, which
Yeah.
was apparently an invention of the film. And I always thought that that came from the stage show as well. But then Wikipedia told me otherwise. I think that just, oh, it's so. Oh, we got Ajanaclair back. Welcome back.
It is.
So I'm basically just saying that one of my favorite sequences is Emerald City, and how I think that's one of like my favorite inventions of the film, and just the scope of it, like the visual scope of how much space they have and all those actors, and the fact that they're changing costumes and even just cycling through like the traffic light colors, I think is
Yeah,
such
the
a
lighting.
smart thing, because it plays into what I said in my video about how one of my favorite things about this film is just how New York it is, which was, I think, such a brilliant choice. But yeah, what does everyone else think about that? Because the stage show, Oz is just Oz. It's like fantasy Oz. But then they made the very distinct choice to set this in kind of weird alternate universe New York. Like, is that something that we thought worked? Is that something that we would have preferred to see done differently? Oh no, where'd Jeanette go? Everyone's going south of 125th Street.
Sorry, I'm here.
Yeah. But actually, I'd like to hear from Ajanaclair first, since Ajanaclair, you've like lived in New York. So what is your feel about this movie, like turning Oz into alternate reality New York?
I believed all of it. Especially the subway. Weird, creepy things happen in New York City subways. That was not beyond the realm of reason for me.
Love it.
So it's so funny because it was like watching it again, though. I feel like now, like really kind of watching it was like a purpose to actually discuss it. I picked up on things that just I never either I've never noticed before or just didn't really care about before. Because I feel like when I watched this as a kid, aside from a couple of like slow movies and scary parts, I was pretty content with this movie as a whole. Like, like I didn't see anything wrong with it. But then like watching it today, I was just like, they did that? Really? It's like a whole different vibe.
Oh, absolutely. Like what? Like what? What stood out?
Like, and
What's
then
the
you
biggest
notice
surprise?
things that like I've never noticed before, like Diana Ross doing backflips, and like, did she have a stunt double in this movie?
Probably did.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of had the same thing. I didn't know that she was as physical as she was in this movie. Like, I didn't realize that she was as strong of a dancer as evidently she is, as evidenced by this film. Like, yeah, Diana Ross really surprised me. And I think that just because I went into it having done all the research and just knowing that a lot of people preferred Stephanie Mills, and I kind of had the mentality of, oh, she only got the role because she was famous. But then, like, I think I personally loved her in this movie. I think she did a great job. But actually, should we talk about Diana Ross now? Did anyone have anything to say about New York City and Oz before we move on to the Diana Ross chat?
I was going to comment on the Manhattan aspect we were talking about with Oz being Manhattan. That scene, and I hate to just be like, oh, everything's my favorite, but like that scene, that song was one of my favorites. And it, again, I think I tended to latch onto the things that felt more early 80s than late 70s. that was where my like the interpretive dance scene, and then the Oz thing where they were all super classy and very modern, and that whole song sounded very early 80s to me and not 70s. So it kind of fell into that, and I thought that was really cool, and you could see entirely how they did it. They made all their costumes silver and just changed the lights, but
Mhm.
it
Oh no, they
totally
were different.
worked, and it was
Apparently, they were different costumes. Like they did full costume changes.
really. It looked like they
Wow.
were just changing the lights,
Oh,
and
I
I
know.
thought that was really cool. I was like, I think that's neat. I like that. But well, I mean,
That's
it still
impressive.
it just weren't the
Mhm.
same stuff, but it was really cool.
Oh no, like I'm with you. I always thought that was a thing, but then I was watching a documentary where Sidney Lumet was talking about that Oz sequence being like the hardest thing to shoot.
I guess
And
if
then
they
he
had to
said,
change that many people.
yeah, he was like,
Yeah.
we have 125 dancers, and each one of them has to have 3 separate costumes of like the same design in a different color, and that just my brain exploded because I thought the same thing. I thought it was just light was changing the costume, which is very Oz from the book because that's what they do in the book
And
as well.
from the 39 movie, isn't that what they do to the horses? The horse of different color scene?
Oh, the horse was just magic in the movie, and in real life they painted it with Jello because animal rights weren't a thing.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Glad we cleared that up. I could have gone the rest of my life not knowing that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, sorry. Glass
No,
shattered.
that's okay.
Can we just acknowledge that your mom is making hilarious comments?
Oh yes. God, I came home and the wrong video was on. Thank you, Martha. That explains.
We love you, Martha.
Martha was just commenting random movies. She was like Midsummer, Pretty Woman,
Oh,
Casablanca. And I saw them, and then in my like what I thought was happening, I thought she had like a backup of chat comments that didn't go through 2 weeks ago. But then thank you for watching, Martha. Thank you for watching. And Lauren, did you have anything that you wanted to say just about the New York influence in Louise?
I thought that it was really cool, and it made sense to me to have that. But that Oz, the Emerald City scene, just really like sometimes I rewind it just to watch that, just because it's so impressive. But I didn't get when you just talked about the stoplight. I was like, oh, okay, green, red, yellow, duh.
oh yeah.
I thought it was
No, I
just
didn't get
random
that either.
colors.
You know, it's a traffic light.
Yeah, so that's actually a new element that I had never thought of.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I
Cool.
think all the
Glad
New
I
York
could go.
elements, coming from someone who's never been to New York City ever, I thought all the New York elements were pretty cool. Like I thought that as someone who's never been, I was able to identify them, and I think that's good to be versatile that way, so everybody can kind of get what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
It wasn't like inside baseball. It was pretty easy to pick up on what they were referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it works really well. Like it brings up all the things that just I, as someone who hasn't lived there but like has spent some time there, really like about the city. Like just watching it, it just feels like, oh, New York being celebrated in all its scariness and all of its weirdness and all of its glory, which is all very Ozish. It's like simultaneously beautiful but kind of terrifying.
Yeah, because it can be very difficult to navigate sometimes, especially when it's your first time there. You know, the whole idea of using the subway system and all that, and you just have these preconceived notions of like somebody's gonna like kill you or whatever.
Yeah, I think the first time I went to New York by myself as an adult, I got lost just trying to find like really good pizza. I can't remember where I was. I was probably like in the 10s or so, 10, 11, 10th, 11th Street. And then I just found this wall that had the Mona Lisa painted on it, which was completely like I just turned the corner looking for pizza, and then I found the Mona Lisa. And something about that moment to me was just so beautiful because like my favorite thing about New York is all of the little pockets of surprises. I
Mhm.
think that's what this
Yeah.
movie really captures nicely, and that's like my favorite thing about it. Is they just turn a corner, and then you find like an entire hidden perfume factory of poisonous poppies.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I never noticed the fact that where Michael Jackson was as the Scarecrow was like this old gray abandoned building area, but there was a field of sunflowers and corn just in that one little space where he was hanging. I noticed that for the
Oh,
first time today. I was like, oh my god, like, there are actually like 5 foot tall sunflowers sitting like. And
on
it was like
the
the only
note of
color
that
in the scene.
scene, Matt, the Broadway musical clip you showed me today, correct me if I'm wrong. So the crows in the movie are like obviously like hip and like cool people, I guess, right? Like they're supposed to be pretty cool or like regular people. But then on the Broadway production, those hats and those costumes, am I wrong that they're supposed to be like colonial like
Oh, I didn't
peoples?
actually watch it. I was just listening to
Like
that point, so I haven't seen
like
like visually what that is in that part.
yeah, they look to me like they are like these colonial era people telling
Ooh.
him what to do and what not to
Oh.
do. And that scene also is so much shorter in the Broadway production. I
Mm.
noticed. I was like, wow,
Mhm.
that scene went on for a long time. But yeah, I thought that attention to like maybe what the symbolism was either lost or just changed like many things in the movie version.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the movie. I don't know. The movie made some interesting choices just insofar as how it interpreted everything. Like I think, like the crows, for example, or like the poppies. Like the poppies is just what I'm always going to go
They're
back
just
to.
flowers in the
Yeah,
Broadway production.
like
Yeah.
in the Broadway production, they're literally just people in pink dresses that are flowers. And I think the film made some smart choices about how to approach
Mhm.
those side characters. And then, like, what I love is that they're all working for Eveline at the end, or not at the end, but when we actually get to see her, that they're like all clocking in for her. Like, I thought that was a brilliant choice. And yeah, like the movie does some really clever things, but then it also does some things that people don't like. For example, casting Diana Ross. Let's discuss that because that's kind of the big hot topic when it comes to this movie. Because I put a poll out on a Facebook group for Broadway fans and a Facebook group for Oz fans, just saying who's your favorite Dorothy, and literally every single person chimed in and said Stephanie Mills. There was not a Diana Ross fan to be found, except for on my Instagram poll, where she won like by a landslide. On Instagram, people love
Because
Diana.
people didn't, I don't think people really knew who Stephanie Mills. If you're not a Broadway person,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
you
See,
don't know who Stephanie
I
Mills
think
is.
that's the difference.
I
Oh,
didn't know Stephanie
Exactly.
Mills until you sent us the link. And
I didn't
there you
know
go.
Stephanie Mills played Dorothy in the live on the Broadway show. Like I know she did the song Home,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
never connected that she was on the live stage production until I saw
Yeah,
your video today.
exactly.
Like I never knew that she had played it. I mean, Stephanie Mills is an incredible singer. She's an incredible
Mhm.
talent. Like I know who she is from her singing, but I had always thought she did Home as a remake
Like as a cover.
of the Home Diana Ross did
That's
in The Wiz. But
yes.
because I was so young, like I had no
Right.
idea that Stephanie Mills did the Broadway show before Diana Ross did the movie. Like my only exposure at that time had only ever been the movie. Like I didn't even know there was a Broadway show when I was growing up. So when I heard Stephanie Mills do Home, I had just assumed that she was doing a cover of what Diana Ross had already done.
That's what I thought as well. Like I knew Stephanie Mills did Home, but I didn't know that she was Dorothy. So to me, the only Dorothy has been Diana Ross until I watched a live show.
Right.
Then it's um. So yeah, I mean, so for me, Diana Ross is fine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that if I saw Stephanie Mills in the production, I'd probably feel otherwise. But because I only know Diana Ross, I have to take her.
Oh, of course. And I think
Yeah, you have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
Like the Diana Stephanie thing aside, then how do we just feel about having a film where Dorothy is an adult, like where she's not a teenager? But I think this is the only Oz adaptation, at least of note, where we do get grown-up Dorothy as opposed to teenager Dorothy. And like, how do we like that for how it serves the story? Because I think it's a very different vibe seeing this experience by a grown-up versus a kid. And I personally really like it. Like, I think it adds a whole new layer of depth and understanding to the story, seeing everything played out by somebody who is in her, well, in the story, or like, yeah, in the movie, she's supposed to be mid-20s, but I still feel like knowing that Diana Ross was in her 30s, and like, since I'm in my 30s, I watched, I'm like, no, that's a 30-year-old in Oz. And I am here for it. I like it. And like, I personally love it. Like, I'm all about taking existing texts and not necessarily changing that much, but reinterpreting them to bring to light new thematic elements or story elements that you might not have been aware of previously. Like, it's something that I think happens in Shakespeare a lot. Like, if you just gender bend a character, for example, it can add a whole new layer of depth to the story. Or if you switch up the age dynamics, like, that's one of my favorite things. So that's something that I love about this adaptation, is just showing us what is it like if the Wizard of Oz is experienced by an actual adult as opposed to a kid. But how does everyone else feel?
Yeah, go.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like,
I thought before Ajanaclair suggested that it was probably because it's what Diana Ross's voice and cadence and all that lends to. I had originally thought that was maybe the reason why that the overtone was a little more bleak and a little bit more sad, was because it's not a young child or a young person going off and having an adventure. It's this inner crisis of an adult, really. And so I thought maybe that was why that was supposed to be that tone. Maybe it's a mixture of both, because I feel like that's what it lent itself to. And I didn't mind that. I also thought that it lent itself just to something as simple as like a costume change of Dorothy, not a cute frilly dress, this more adult look. And that, again, that was very of the time. Like, that was a modern look at the time. So that's wonderful. Now it kind of dates it, but at the time, I'm sure it modernized it. And I loved how that skirt played with the dancing. I thought that was really fabulous. But I liked it overall. I thought it was nice to see that. It was a change.
I remember during this viewing that was the first time that I thought about it. Like, I thought, oh, she's older in this, and what they did to adapt that story to her being 24 instead of 16. And I thought that for what it was, they did a good job in adapting the story. And that on some levels, it makes sense to have somebody who is a little older experiencing the fact that they've never been out anywhere, except for in their own little neighborhood. And I thought that was very interesting.
Ooh. Yeah, what was I going to say next? I can't remember. So anyway, then the next thing I want to talk about, since we talked about Diana Ross so much, is who's everyone's favorite person in the movie, aside from Diana Ross, because like she's grounding the whole thing. And I know it's like a divisive subject, but I think we all agree that we like Diana in this movie. But like, who's our favorite person to watch in this film? And if it's Diana, pick somebody else, because we talked about her already.
It's so hard.
I know.
I love Richard Pryor as the wizard.
The Wiz.
He's so sad. He's such a sad wizard, which I love.
And I love Michael Jackson as the Scarecrow. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Like, I feel like I have to say Michael Jackson because I had like the biggest crush. That was like when Michael Jackson was like every little girls and teenage girls and grown-up girls and elderly girls.
Every girl.
Like Dreamboat. and it was like, it's just when Michael Jackson was still like Michael Jackson, and like the Michael Jackson like you grew up with, and then before all of the changes started, and it was just like so sweet and innocent, and I don't know. But then then you have Nipsey Russell, like so hard.
Okay, so Ajanaclair picks everybody.
I know.
I pick everybody.
Lauren, how about you?
I know mine. It's one of the witches, but I don't know which one because I thought all of them: Thelma Carpenter, Mabel King, Lena Horne, all legends, all wonderful in their performances. So I'm going to go with the three witches.
That's my answer. I love the witches. Oh my gosh. Like the witches to me are the strongest, most consistent thing. In the, I mean, everyone's fantastic, but in terms of like, it's the strongest triad, I think, of Oz witches in any film. Yeah. And I just love how all of them have such distinct characterizations and they just own the roles so beautifully. And I can't remember the actress's name, but the Witch of the North, what was her name, Lauren?
Miss One.
Yeah, or no, the actress though.
Thelma Carpenter.
Yes, Thelma Carpenter. Like no other Witch of the North in any subsequent Wiz production or any Oz production will ever match her for me. She is like my ultimate Witch of the North. I love her so much. Yeah. And like that, her song in this film, like He's the Wizard. No other Wiz production, original Broadway, Amber Riley or otherwise, will ever come close to her. Yeah. I love her so much. And Mabel King is so delightful to watch. Like just the theatricality of her performance, like the way that she uses her dress and everything, just everything about her as Eveline is so good.
So good.
And Mary, how have you not seen The Wiz? Especially if you're a Michael Jackson fanatic. I think this is his only movie as well. I might have misread that, but I think this is like
Captain EO. What's wrong with you?
That's true, of course. Captain EO.
I think that my obvious answer is Michael Jackson. I personally think he lifted every scene he was in. He is a stronger actor than Diana Ross. They're equal in musical talents, but I do think he's a stronger actor than she is. Not that she's bad. I just think he's great. I oddly enough, even though for the time period, like I do know a lot of the people that are in this, which was like, I was like, oh, I don't know if everybody does, but I know the majority of these people. Like I knew Nipsey Russell because of Match Game, growing up watching Match Game, and he was on there. So like I knew everybody from like here or there or whatever. Michael Jackson's my obvious answer, but I think that the not obvious answer for me is the are they the Munchkins? The people at the beginning, the graffiti people.
Yeah.
So to what you said, Matt, like that scene's amazing. I just think it's shot really dark. But other than that, it's like the song is probably my favorite song in the whole movie. I did love The Witch of the North, but those characters, I felt like everybody who you saw close up really put everything into what they were saying or doing, and the costumes had a lot to do with it. I thought those were awesome. So it's Michael Jackson carried it, but then I just really loved everything about those characters.
And I think it's like we've said, I think Michael Jackson, once he entered into the movie, that's when the movie really takes off. And I also just think the chemistry between him and Diana Ross is so good. Because just knowing like their actual real life relationship definitely fed into that, but it matched Dorothy and the Scarecrow so well. So I think once we actually had that connection, and once we saw a little bit more life out of Diana Ross, and I think this is more a directorial thing for Dorothy's character arc as well, but like all the elements just come together once Michael Jackson comes on screen to really pick the film up, which is brilliant. We got some other Michael Jackson fans here. Moonwalker. I've not seen Moonwalker.
There you go.
But that movie has Mary's whole heart. And I wish Captain EO was a full-length film as well.
Can we just talk about the appliances in this movie?
Like the trash cans?
I had no idea a dishwasher existed in 1978. Okay, like I literally was like, I paused the movie. It's like, is that a dishwasher? That's a dishwasher. Like, I was so, I had no idea the
Oh, you're talking about their apartment?
The actual, yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
can I make one comment
a dishwasher
about?
in a New York City apartment is already like an anomaly, okay?
Yeah, but their apartment made me realize that I literally don't think, maybe other than A Clockwork Orange, I've ever seen the interior of a house from the 70s on film that I liked. I was like, oh, look at the inside of that house. Do they want it to look like? Are we supposed to think that like that they don't like their house? I don't know. I'm like, what
It
is
was the
this? This is.
70s.
But first of all, as an adult,
I say that, and I have brown
the one
curtains.
thing about this movie that disturbed me was the size of that apartment. Okay, I have not been in a New York City apartment.
Right? They had like 30 people in there.
That wasn't in like some like old pre. Like it was just. I'm like, that's the lie. They had a dishwasher.
Oh, I didn't even.
In the scene with the Wicked Witch of the West, it wasn't until today that I realized that the Wicked Witch was sitting on a toilet seat.
Yeah, I know, right?
I
did not know
I was wrong, but then the lid closes.
Yeah, the lid closes.
And she fell into the hole and she was melting. And
Yeah.
it was when the lid came down that I was like, oh my God, that's a toilet.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, I thought maybe it was just supposed to be a pipe, and then I was like, oh no. I was like, where are they? She's designing fashion and she's sitting on a toilet. I don't understand. What building is this?
I have never noticed that was a giant toilet.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I have not. I wouldn't have noticed that if you didn't point it out.
Oh yeah, you have to rewatch it and find it.
Oh, obviously. There we go. Just for that. Well, I would have rewatched it anyway. And like again, it's coming back to this is like
they took off their clothes, like when all of like the
I talked
the
about
servants,
that while you were out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
took off their clothes.
Like,
all I kept thinking was when the guys started, because the guys had on like the underwear that like were really like high cut on the cheeks and the back, and I'm like looking at the TV today like, did somebody junk fall out? Did it come out?
Girl,
did they?
All the high kicks and these underwear, I was like, somebody's junk is coming out.
I gotta say, I thought maybe because you know how like some movies are filmed, and because when they were filmed, things were just naturally blurry, so they always like kind of made, you know, the makeup was different and all that because things were going to show up a little more blurry than they do now if you get like a, you know, like it is on Peacock, it's high definition. And I was like, you can really see these bodies, like full on, like you said. I was like, those are just some dancer skivvies, and that's it. And I was just like, I guess I just didn't understand. I was like, yes, I get they're breaking out of their old shells and stuff, but I was like, this was a choice. But then in the Broadway musical, they had, whenever she turned them into like a flying monkey or something, they had them in their like in just underwear and like these weird like things up here, but like they're mostly naked. And I'm like, I guess this is where they reinterpreted that, but it was a long scene. I was like, this is just a whole interpretive naked dance, and I don't know why it fits, but it's really cool.
I mean, I got it. Like I got like once the evil witch died, and you know, it was like, okay, we're free. So I got like the freedom part. But it was like the dancing in those, like, I was just like, oh God. And they're doing like the high kicks. And I was like, I don't know what kind of body glue they had on.
I know.
But they stayed in place.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was not ready for it. And then, it was, like, my mentality was, it's the 70s. Like, this is when hair was written. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's what I say to people when they always ask me, because I was born in 78. People always say, oh, where's your name from? Like, where'd your parents get your name from? I'm like, people, I was born in 78. My parents were high as a kite. Like, I'm pretty sure they were sitting around smoking something. It was like, what you gonna name your baby? Ajanaclair?
Maybe they were watching The Wiz. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that kind of brings me to my next question. What was everyone's favorite musical sequence? We've kind of touched on it. Like mine is a toss-up between this, like the naked dancing one that we're talking about, and the Emerald City. But if I had to pick, I would probably go with Brand New Day / Naked Dancing Number, just because I think the orchestrations and the arrangements musically are probably the strongest in the whole film, I would say. And like the choral singing is so good, and actually the entire Wicked Witch of the West sequence, I think the movement is so captivating. Like when we just enter and like they all have their scarves and they're going up and down in time, like, oh, I love it so much. But yeah, what does everyone else think for favorite musical sequence?
Mine is the Wiz. He's the Wiz. Because it's because you have Thelma Carpenter and Dorothy and Diana Ross just walking through all this insanity, and everybody's dancing, and there's this one part where they're going up these stairs, and just all the people behind them just with their hands up above, and I don't know, there was something that was very joyful yet dark about that whole number.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to look at. And it kind of reminds me of Step in Time a little bit, just because of the visually dark nature of it, but like the joy that's emanating at the same time. And yeah, there's so many good numbers.
Yeah.
I would say I mean, like y'all have both said, The Wiz is one of them. And then, yeah, the City of Oz, when with the metallic outfits, that whole thing, that type of music is more my pace. Like that look, everything was very much just like in my wheelhouse, and it stands out. I think any musical number in a movie that is just so different that it just stands out is going to catch your eye and be memorable.
Agreed. Ajanaclair, how about you? Or is it He's on Down the Road?
I mean, Ease on Down the Road is like my favorite kind of song in the movie, but in terms of like kind of the musical sequence, I gotta go with the whole Brand New Day song. It's like that whole sequence to me, from the transition from before, when the Wicked Witch was alive and the music there, to when she was dead, to to this, like that whole like vibe for me was always just like everything.
Oh, it's so much joy. And then if we're talking about songs, I think we should probably talk a little bit about Home, which we've touched on, but like that's like the trademark song of this. It's like the Over the Rainbow equivalent. And I personally really like Diana Ross's rendition, even how it's shot. Like the fact that it's all one shot, and that choice was made at a time when, like, if it was done now, I think the choice to do it in one shot would be one of those things where they're trying to impress the audience, like they did with Anne Hathaway in Les Mis, doing Dream to Dream. And like, not to take away from Anne Hathaway, because that was amazing, but they really pushed it where they were like, give her the Oscar because she did it in one take. And in this, it was just done, I think, because it was the strongest choice. And I don't know if Diana Ross is singing live, but even if she's not, she's so captivating to watch.
I think she has to be singing live because of the sobbing during the song. It'd be so hard to, in my opinion, I guess it'd be riskier, I guess, not hard, but riskier to try to sync up like those sobbing sounds and those inhales, and like it felt very much to me like she was. That could be not right, but I thought that was, of all of her slow song intermissions that were in that, and I know that's the main song, I didn't know that going into it. I was like, oh, here we go, and another slow song between fast songs, and then I was like, oh no, this is the song. This is this is it. And yeah, I think that's where her emotion made the most sense. Like where I'm like, okay, now is an appropriate time to be crying. Like this feels right now.
Totally.
Yeah, and then like what I find really interesting about Home, in like how it's written into the original show and how they do it in this movie, is like once the song is over, that's it. Like that is the end, which I think is a really cool, interesting choice. Just the fact that we get really no denouement of her getting back home and like seeing her reunite with anyone. It's just like she sings the song, and then that's it. And I remember when I saw The Wiz live, I thought it was kind of abrupt because she just got home, then Toto ran on stage, she hugged him, and then it was like credits rolling. And it was really only when I watched the bootleg, the Stephanie Mills thing, where I kind of understood how it works live to just end with that, because it's one of those numbers that is just so good that you can't really follow it up with anything. I
Yeah.
think in the movie it
Yeah.
sits kind of weird how she clicks her heels and then it's a really awkward jump cut to, oh, now she's in normal shoes and now it's snowing in New York, and then
Yeah.
that's it. But yeah, just how do we feel about that choice to have home literally end everything, specifically in the movie? Like, do we think it works? Do we think it could have been done differently?
No, it didn't bother me. I thought, like you said, home's such a strong number that it's hard to like follow it up. And I thought that it was, I don't know, it didn't bother me.
It felt very much like a conclusion song. It sounded like that's it. Also, I think in Wizard of Oz, in my opinion, you only need that reintroduction scene into the real world if your Tin Man and your Lion and your Scarecrow and your Witch or whoever were people in the real world. And
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, but that was not the case here, right?
No.
Like
Yeah.
those weren't her family members that we saw then turned into Oz people. It was just completely different people, right?
Yeah.
So I think you only need that when you need to be reminded that the people you saw in Oz are some sort of weird amalgamation of the people in the real world. Otherwise, you just assume she goes on and lives happily ever after.
Yeah.
True. And I think it also, the more I think about it, I think it works, at least in the movie. I don't know the text of the stage show that well. I think it works in the movie because she comes to all the conclusions she needs to before the song and during the song. Whereas I think in other Oz adaptations, you kind of need to tie up the loose ends where she needs to like make some kind of resolution with whoever she fought with in Kansas and or New York before she left. But here, because I think her journey in this movie is just more of a self-discovery thing. Like she learns everything she needs to about herself before she goes back home. And then that's what home is. And I think, yeah, it's such a smart choice. I think
Yeah.
it's such a different approach that I
Yeah.
very much appreciate. Yeah. Oh no, we lost Ajanaclair again. Okay, when Ajanaclair comes back, we're going to start the game. So I forgot to warn you that there's a game, but I figured by now you would know. So make sure you
I think
have your
we know,
right
yeah.
utensils. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to take a sip of my drink. Fun. Just give Ajanaclair like a minute or so to come back on in. I'm going to check my list to see if I have any other like mini discussion topics before we move into the game.
Okay.
Trying to think if there were any other really. Oh, did anybody else think that those weird little, for some reason, necessary little red things on the weird guy's cart in the subway station? Did anybody else think those read as Yellow Submarine? Because this felt very Blue Meanie World to me.
It did actually.
And
Yeah.
I was like, those look so Yellow Submarine to me. I was like, what are these things and why
Yeah.
are they
Seen Yellow
necessary?
Submarine. What?
Oh, it's
What?
trippy.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, well, the Blue Meanie World where they go, there's
Mhm.
like weird, mean looking, crazy cartoon things, and they totally would fit into that world. I was like,
Mhm.
what are these? Because they're not, I don't think they're in the Broadway production. Like, what the heck are these things? The trash cans made sense and the columns made sense. Why these weird red lantern monster things? I don't know.
I feel like that's a New York thing. I don't know for sure, but I think there was a point in time when that was like street entertainment where there
Mhm.
were. 'Cause I know in Guys and
Oh.
Dolls, of all things, in the opening sequence of the Guys and Dolls movie, there's somebody walking through the streets of New York that also has like the paper lantern puppets doing
Oh,
things.
okay.
So like
Maybe
I
it was,
think,
and it's just not my time and place. Like,
yeah.
what the heck are those?
Oh yeah, Jean-Claire were talking about the weird paper lantern things and trying to figure out what
The
they are
little
and why
red
they're there.
monster things in the subway? Those things
That
were
got
so
bigger and
weird.
bigger.
Yes.
I
Yes.
told you, it's just one of those things where I was just like, weird things happen on the subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trash cans came to life. The paper lanterns grew to be giants. The wall
Columns,
beams started
yeah.
walking. Just another day in a New York City subway.
Ajanaclair, can I hear your strangest subway encounter from your time in New York?
That's
I
appropriate.
think for me,
Yes.
I don't think I've had any super strange like encounters on the subway. For me, it was just more of the annoying encounters. Like I remember, in New York, I used to hate to take the express train as much as I love the express train because it basically held you hostage. And all of like the street performers would use the express train for their performances because from 59th Street to 125th Street, there were no stops. So they had you and you couldn't go anywhere. So they couldn't do their performances on a local train because it stops every every 30 seconds. But on the express train from 59th Street to 125th Street, that was like 4 to 5 minutes of uninterrupted dance time for these guys. And it's like you don't want to engage them because they're going to come and ask for money. And they always get the timing perfectly right, where they finish their routine right before the train gets ready to stop, where they can start asking you for money and then get off at 125th Street. And I remember one day I was sitting on a chair and I was just like, please don't come this way, please don't come this way. And they start dancing where I'm sitting and I'm like stuck there. And then the guy decides to use the pole that's like next to my chair as like his flipping post. And I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, I'm going to get kicked in my head. I'm going to get kicked in my head. But unfortunately, I did not get kicked in my head, but I was terrified for a moment. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, like.
Mary says favorite subway experience was an a cappella group on the train, and they sang from one stop to the next, and it was incredible.
Oh, I'm sure you might have been the only
Well,
person that thought it was incredible, though.
Mary, did you ever live in New York? See, to me, that's the perfect tourist response. Tourists love this stuff. Okay?
Oh yeah, I was going to say everything you're describing. I love it.
And give these people money, which is what encourages them to keep doing it. It's the locals that are like,
yeah,
down somewhere. I just want to go to work. I just want to go home. I don't want to do this today. It's like that express train is either you get the dancers, the singers, or the preachers.
I never heard a preacher. What?
You get, and they have like these portable like microphone things with the speakers that are like battery operated, and they're telling you and they're preaching to you the word of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But it's all scary stuff. It's not like the good Jesus stuff. It's like the scary, like
this sounds like a condensed version of the French Quarter, because everything we're talking about is a thing that you have to deal with to walk through the French Quarter, and the crazy preachers on the karaoke machines is one of my favorite ones. And it's never the nice stuff. It's never, we love you, come to us. It's, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, we have them in Toronto too, right at Yonge and Dundas Square, which is like the Toronto attempt at Times Square. There was this guy, and he's probably still there. And he would just stand on the corner and he'd be really quiet. And then just out of nowhere, he would scream, "Believe!" And then he would have things that he would throw at you. And he would just, that was literally for like, probably saw him on and off for over 10 years. It was just always the word "believe." That's all he would say. And I think every city has them.
Yeah, these big city experiences, like you said in your video today, either this movie reminds you of having a city experience, or it gives you ideas of like what a city experience is or cinematically is, like her getting lost and all these weird things happening. Yeah.
Martha's confirming he's still there. I hope you didn't give him money, Martha. That's why he doesn't go away. And actually, there's another guy in Toronto that has a cat.
They will never leave if you feed them.
No.
But yeah, no, there's one guy in Toronto. Yeah, he literally has a cat. It's this like marmalade colored tabby, and then he sits. And I don't think he's preaching anything, but he's just like, "Give me money to support my cat." And the cat is like one of the best looking cats I've seen in my life. Like, it is one of the healthiest, shiniest coat cats. ever. But then the guy doesn't look like he has that much money. So I'm like, I feel like you're legit giving this money to the cat, and I respect that.
Okay, guys, I'm so sorry I have to run, but this was so much fun.
Oh, this was fun. Oh, you're leaving just before the game. Okay, but better you leave before the game than mid-game. Okay. There we go. Thank you,
Bye,
Ajanaclair.
guys.
Bye,
Bye,
John.
Pleasure. Bye-bye. Everyone, follow Ajanaclair. She had her thing there. It's being Ajanaclair or Zoel's World or both. Follow both. Okay, friends. So we are now going to move into our game for this evening. I thoroughly encourage everyone in the live chat to play the game as well. So this game is pretty straightforward. I'm going to tell you a fact about The Wiz, and you need to tell me whether I am describing the movie, the musical, or both.
Okay.
Yes.
Hold on.
Oh, wait. Martha, do you know which cat I'm talking about? Do you actually know the penthouse? Because I'll go there. There we go. You have a guy with a trained cat too. Your cat does tricks. This cat in Toronto doesn't do tricks.
Cats who do tricks.
Oh, I love cats who do tricks. Okay. So again, all you have to say is movie, musical, or both. Let me get my scoreboard. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. And the answer will never be neither. So it's always going to be movie, musical, or both. Good luck. Okay, first. Dorothy lives in New York City. Is that the movie, the musical, or both?
Oh, whoa. That doesn't say any movie, is what I'm saying.
Got one for movie, one for movie. You're
There
both
you go.
you both get a point.
What are you
Yay!
Here, this game is hard. I tried to play it for Rocky Horror. I forgot. I did invent this game for Rocky Horror. Good memory, Barry. Thank you.
I want to play this game for. I've never gotten to see the Broadway
know.
production of that.
That would be
Oh.
fun.
The stage show of Rocky is so much fun.
I know.
love
I've
it.
heard such wonderful things.
Yeah, we used to do it every year at my theater before it stopped existing because #pandemic. But it was like the best live experience of all time. Like the people get so into it. And when they're not like toxic, it's amazing. When they are toxic,
yeah.
it's kind of entertaining to watch from like
Yeah.
afar. But I was in it once. I was Dr. Scott, and someone didn't like me, so he threw a piece of toast at me really hard. Like it knocked my glasses off and hit me in the
Oh my
eye.
God.
I know, kind of painful, but in the moment I was like, okay, it's Rocky. Here
Did
we
you say
are.
toast?
Yeah, toast. They throw toast.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
He says a toast. So they threw toast at all the actors. Oh, loved it. Okay, next. Movie or musical, or both. The Scarecrow sings, I was born the day before yesterday. Or sorry, I was born on the day before yesterday. And that's the title of the song. It's not like he sings that lyric at some point. You got one for musical. You're both right. It's the music. Did I make this too easy again? Is this like the Muppet trivia? Okay.
That was-
Next.
No, but God, am I glad you sent me that copy of the musical today, or I'd be lost.
Okay, next. The Good Witch of the North's name is Miss One. Movie, musical, or both? Got both. We got both. Incorrect. It is just the movie. Yes.
Oh,
In the
what?
stage show, it's
I was thinking-
Ajanaclair. No, Ajana.
Oh yeah.
Ada something. Ada Pearl. It's Ada Pearl.
Add a pearl.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The audio was a little that like. Sorry, guessing.
Except you're still tied. I need one of you to pull ahead to make this interesting. Okay. Next. Teresa Merritt played Auntie M. Teresa Merritt played Auntie M.
Oh my God. I don't know.
Somebody's gonna pull ahead.
One of you is correct.
Okay. Who is it?
Jeanette gets a point. There we go.
Ah,
Yay for not right now. Last night, IMDb.
because Jeanette does.
Not cheating right now.
Jeanette does research.
Well, I tried to pick somebody who like wasn't as big of a name that could have conceivably been in the show on Broadway, because who
Right.
knows? Next, Ease On Down the Road is sung 3 times. You're both correct. It's both.
Okay, good.
There we go. Okay, next. Movie or musical. The Lion has a therapist who is an owl. The Lion has a therapist who is an owl. I will say this, the owl is never seen on screen or on stage. And you're both right. It's the musical. He has an owl therapist, which I think is so random and hilarious.
Yeah.
He has like this bit of dialogue where he's like, the hour goes by so quickly and then the owl takes all of my money. I don't know. It's so... Okay, next. Mabel King played Eveline or Eveline. Mabel King played Eveline. Got one for movie. It was both. You're both incorrect.
Ah,
Yes, she was the
Second guessing
Broadway
myself.
Wicked
I thought
Witch.
it. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I was like, when
Yeah.
I saw it today, I was like, I think that's the same woman, but I can't really tell in this video.
Oh, except she's not the one in the video I sent you. Because it's
Oh,
the...
she's not? Okay. Well, then that's an awful thing to say. But I thought, I was like, oh, she looks a lot like
Well, it's a similar type, definitely. Next. The Tin Man sings, "What Would I Do at the Emerald City?" The Tin Man sings, "What would I do if I could feel," or something like that.
Oh.
That song is sung at the Emerald City. Movie, musical, or
Oh.
both?
sung at the Emerald City.
Yes. Okay, we got one vote for both.
I think okay. Sorry, I hate to think about it so much, but I'm like,
Movie. Oh, you're both wrong. It's in the musical only.
it's just the music. I was like, which one?
In
Are
the,
you
no,
kidding me?
in the movie he sings it in Coney Island when they find him, and it's like a mashup with
Yes.
"Slide Some Oil to Me."
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, in the musical, the wizard is like, "What would you do with a heart?" And then he sings his beautiful song, and then that's the end of Act 1. But
That's right.
in the movie, it wouldn't work because the wizard scene is very short and there's no music. Next.
Yeah.
Okay, movie or musical or both. At the end, the wizard stays in Oz. At the end, the wizard stays in Oz.
I didn't watch the end of
Okay, got one for both. And you're both incorrect. That's only for the movie. In the stage show, he goes in his balloon. He goes
thought it
home.
was just a movie, but then I was like, oh, maybe I can't remember now.
This game is all about second guessing yourself. There we go. Next. Okay. This is an opportunity for a tie if Lauren gets it right and Jeanette gets it wrong. Here we go.
Okay. Pressure.
Movie, musical, or both. The wizard sings "Believe in Yourself." You're both correct. It's the musical. There we go.
Jeanette, you were supposed to get it wrong.
But don't worry, don't worry.
I'm so
We can
sorry.
still make it work because now it is the all or nothing round. Here
All
we go.
right.
So, how many points would you like to wager? Lauren, you have 5. Jeanette, you have 6.
I'm gonna go all in.
Oh, okay.
And I'll do 5. No, I'll do all in. I'm joking.
Okay. Here we go. I've kind of given you part of this answer already, so I hope you were paying attention. There are 2 actors in the Wiz movie that are reprising their roles from the stage show. What roles do they play?
Okay.
You have to get both to get the full point.
Okay.
So there are 2 actors / characters who are reprising their roles in the movie that were in the original Broadway production. Who are they? You can just tell me the characters. You don't have to tell me the actors' names.
Okay. Just stab.
Okay.
Do you have to have the actors' names too, or just the characters?
Just the characters.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I'm only right about one of these.
We got.
Ah.
Oh, we both said.
And you're both right.
Oh, yay!
Okay. So Jeanette wins.
Jeanette wins. Yay! Congratulations. Evidently, well, actually, no, I made it just hard enough. You both scored like 50%, so that's the right amount.
Yeah.
I'm trying to assess how difficult to make my trivia in preparation for next week's live show where I'm doing Disney princess trivia.
Ooh.
Yes, and it's going to be another Kahoot night, so that means everyone can play along at home, which is thoroughly encouraged because if no one plays along, then it's just really sad. It's just me going through trivia questions by myself. So please, of the 6 people who are watching and the 2 who are on screen, if you're free next Wednesday night, please play Disney Princess Trivia with me. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Oh,
Mary,
yay.
funny that you should ask. We have decided to tack on a live show talking about Wicked in 2 weeks from now. So on September 8th, we're going to be reassembling and talking about the Broadway musical Wicked. So if we have any Wicked fans, please join us. It's going to be so much fun. I can't remember who's on the lineup offhand, but it's a good lineup. I know Lauren is there. Jen from Magic in the Music. Miriam.
Right?
I can't remember if Miriam's still
I
watching,
think
but
Miriam's
Miriam.
there.
Yes, Miriam, and there was someone else.
I know. I want to say.
I feel so bad for forgetting them. there's others. Oh, Amanda Hyde.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and Amanda. Yes. So if anyone watching wants to join us, let us know because we're always up for more people, talking about Wicked and joining in on the lives because these are so much fun. What we got here? Princess Trivia will be fun. Everyone, please sign up because, like
I'm
I said,
excited.
it'll be really
Is it? It's not this, is it? It's like some other platform.
No, it's going to be here. It's going to be on YouTube. I'm just going to be screen sharing with the Kahoot. So then how Kahoot works is you just log on through a web browser and like type in the room code, and then you can play along on your phone.
Ooh.
It's so much fun. Yeah, I did it a couple months ago for my 1-year anniversary. And then I was told that the trivia questions were too hard. And then the statistics proved that because there was like a 40% answering rate. So I've made these questions a little bit easier and hopefully more fun. Well, I thought the last one was fun, but there we go. What do we got here? Mary, we absolutely have space for more people. Come talk about Wicked with us.
Yeah.
Message me. You know where to find me. All right, friends. So this pretty much wraps up our The Wiz live chat. This was so much fun. Does anyone have closing thoughts on the movie, the musical, the Lion's Owl Therapist?
I feel like this was better than it got better as it went. I feel like the beginning is very slow, and then at the end, I was like, that was a lot of fun. It was beautiful. The music's good. So overall, I think I liked it more than I expected to. Going back to revisit it.
Nice, Lauren.
And I enjoyed it just as much as I had enjoyed it before. I think that it's just a fun musical. And again, I just like the music. Yes, the slow songs are blah, but the ones that are really good are really good.
Agreed. I agree fully. I think it's a movie that I have a new appreciation for, revisiting it as an adult, and now like knowing the history of it, I can appreciate it as its own thing, separate from the show. And I love it. I would say it's the second best Oz movie because like nothing's going to beat 1939, but this comes pretty close just for, in my books, how unique it is, how original it is. And it's so tough to do an original Wizard of Oz movie because everyone's always going to be thinking of Judy Garland and MGM. And I think this stands on its own really well. And I love it. So yes, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm going to give both of you a chance to just tell all 5 of our viewers where they can find you and follow you and what they can look forward to seeing on your platforms next.
So you can find me at TinkerJ787 on Instagram. Like I said, we just got back from Disney World about a week ago. We stayed at Coronado Springs. We had lots of fun. We did Food and Wine Fest. So there's a few IG lives, some posts from there. There'll be more to come. And we have passes to Ratatouille preview, but we're not sure if we're going to make it or not. So we'll see if we make it. It's pretty soon, so it's kind of a toss-up. So we'll see what happens. If not, I'm sure we'll be back sometime soon. There's that on there, and just a lot of Disney fun over there.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait to see you go on Ratatouille, whether it's preview or otherwise.
I know, right? Just fingers crossed. We also have a park pass for October 1st, so one way or the other. Something's going to happen.
Everyone follow her. Follow her
I'm
right now.
hoping.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you, Jeanette. Always a pleasure. Lauren, where can we find you? What can we look forward to seeing next?
Yeah, you can find me on Castles, Capes, and Clones on YouTube. We do all kinds of unboxings and hauls and all things Disney. So come join us there. We'd love to have you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lauren. Always a pleasure. And of course, if you're watching this, this is my channel. My name is Matt. This is Teacup for One. Thank you so much for joining us for this evening's The Wiz live stream. Again, we're going to be picking up where we left off with Oz Talk in 2 weeks from now when we're discussing Wicked, the Broadway musical. And this time next week, I will be hosting interactive Disney Princess Trivia. Like I said, please play because it'll be really awkward and sad if I'm hosting trivia that's interactive and no one is interacting. So follow Teacup for One on Facebook for more details about that insofar as how you can sign up. It will be tons of fun. But until then, once again, my name is Matt and I have 2 degrees, and this has been the Teacup for One. How do I end this?